Members of the jury, welcome back. You guys may have a seat, of course. Welcome back for our trial. Let's make sure they have all the right notepads. Oh, they need more pads. Okay. Certainly, if you guys need more, just let Mr. Gray know. He'll certainly accommodate you in that regard. Does everyone have the right notepads, though? Okay, I'm getting a bunch of nod heads. All right, we're going to continue with our trial here. And I'll look to the state. State, you can call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state would next call Ryan Nestor.
I do.
Sir, good morning to you. Just watch your step. If you need a glass of water, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you.
I could have.
If there's an objection made, Mr. Gray will get you a glass of water.
Thank you.
If there's an objection made during the course of your testimony, I just ask that you pause, let me rule on the objection, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
With that said, Ms. French, you may inquire. You're ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Ryan Nestor.
And can you spell your last name?
It is Nestor.
How long have you been employed with, are you employed with JSO?
I am.
And how long?
8 years.
And what is your current title with JSO?
I am a public safety analyst supervisor.
And how long have you been a supervisor as a public safety analyst?
1 year.
And what does that exactly mean?
In my current role, I supervise the analysts, but as a sorry, I feel a little loud there. As a crime analyst, we support a multitude of units within our agency in two facets. One is the patrol facet, where we do crime analysis. Our analysts are tasked with analyzing patterns, series, and trends so they can better direct patrol to crimes that are happening in their areas so they can better police them. And then we have analysts that support the investigative units. And they will support the units like homicide, robbery, special assault, and they'll assist with their investigations, finding people, identifying phone numbers, social media, mapping cell phone records.
So prior to being a supervisor, were you considered a crime analyst?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long had you been a crime analyst prior to being a supervisor for the past year?
7 years.
Is it fair to say then back in December of 2018, 2019, several other years through 2022 that you were a crime analyst?
Yes.
And during the time frame of December 2018 and then 2019, were you assigned to a specific investigative unit?
In that time, I believe I was assigned to the gang unit, either the gang unit or the violent crimes unit. We bounce around every couple years.
Now, as part of being a crime analyst, specifically you were assigned to those divisions, do you also have an on-call rotation?
Yes. So in order to make sure that all the analysts get enough rest, before we establish an on-call position, if an analyst was supporting homicide, they could get called at all hours for help. So we decided to establish an on-call system. That put our analysts on call 1 week in for a rotation. So usually we're on call 3 to 4 weeks a year.
And during a certain time frame, then in that December time frame, January time frame, were you asked to assist involving a missing persons case?
I was.
And have you been ultimately, though, contacted to assist by Detective Porter, who's now retired from missing persons, and then homicide detective Billy Abbott?
Yes.
And were you asked to look at phone records in regards to an IS and then a defendant by the name of Johnathan Quiles?
I was asked to look at phone records for IS.
And then in regards, just further going off of phone data, would that be from Google in regards to the defendant, Johnathan Quiles?
Yes, I was asked to look at those as well.
Now, I want to first talk about the records that you received in regards to the target of the defendant, Johnathan Quiles. I believe you stated you received some Google records.
That's correct.
And what does that mean, Google records?
So Google, if you have a Google account, and this is easier for them to do if you have a Samsung or any device that's using Android, because Google owns Android, and just like iPhone that you need a iCloud account to use an iPhone, you need a Google account to use an Android device. So with that, Google is tracking your locations through your account using their apps, their programs on their phone. And so we have access to that information if we do a search warrant.
Now, where does that data originate? Meaning, what does Google, you said it captures a location?
Correct.
And that is based upon, is the Google account have to be on, or does it always have to be on with a Samsung type phone?
So the way they do it is that it's all tied to your account. So if you don't go into your account itself and delete the location history, they're going to continue to track your phone. So if you were to put your phone in airplane mode, your device is still storing locations, and then when you turn it off airplane mode and connect back to the network, they're going to upload all those past locations to their servers. They used to retain this information for forever, but within the last couple of years, they've made adjustments where they're only retaining the last 18 months of that data. And they use this data to build a profile about you, not just your locations, but your habits, what you buy, what you purchase, and they anonymize you and sell that information to advertisers so they can better target ads.
What if, Mr. Nestor, a person turns off their phone? Would Google records then be able to locate your different locations? No,
they would not. So Google has a process. They use 3 different types of ways to track your location. The first is with assisted GPS. So that differs from standard GPS, where if you're outside, your phone can connect to the satellites that are in the air, and they can triangulate your location. The issue with that is that there's only 32 or so of these satellites that are available for the general public to use, and it takes a lot of processing and battery power to find these things and connect to them. Plus, you also have to be outside. So they use assisted GPS to find that location using cell towers to connect to servers that know these locations, and it cuts down on the processing time, and they can track your phone indoors. They can better triangulate your phone indoors. And when you're using assisted GPS is when you've opened, like, say, your Google Maps, and you've plotted a location, and it's going to take you there. And it's very accurate, usually within 3 to 5 meters, so that they can tell you you need to turn right in 800 feet. If they can't get a hold of GPS, they're going to use Wi-Fi data points. Now, they have patented some algorithms that are proprietary that we don't know exactly how they work, but they are using Wi-Fi points to triangulate a location of your device. If they can't get a hold of Wi-Fi, there's no Wi-Fi in the area, they will use cell phone towers. And if there's no cell phone towers in the area that they can use to triangulate the device.
I'm sorry, what was the last thing that you stated?
Cell towers.
After cell towers.
After cell towers, you won't get any records. So your phone is either in the middle of nowhere or it's off.
Now, I think you might have already, I just want to make sure I ask again. What if someone puts their phone in airplane mode? Specifically, I guess, regarding an Android type account.
If your phone is in airplane mode, Google is still collecting those locations because you can still be connected to, like, Wi-Fi points and stuff like that. So they're still able to collect some location data, and it's just going to get stored in your phone. And when you reconnect to the network, they'll just upload those locations.
So, Mr. Nestor, what if someone goes back in their phone and deletes their locations? Would that be memorialized as someone then requested the Google records?
It can be. For these records, there were no tombstones, as they're known, in the records of deletion. Which simply means that there was just no processing on the server at the time that they were requested. That's all. If they were deleted and they had a record of it, they would have been there.
And you mean on the actual Google records?
Yes. Correct.
So there could potentially be a difference between Google records and then what's on a person's cell phone?
No, just a difference between if they've deleted something and whether or not Google has a record of that or not.
Okay. Now, were you asked, I haven't brought this up yet, the Google records specifically for the numbers 904-568-1617?
Is that for the for IS?
For the Google records.
The Google records aren't tied to a phone number. They're usually tied to a device ID and the Google account email.
Okay, so it's tied to the email, not the number.
Yeah, the device specifically.
Okay.
And then when we know a device number, we can subpoena or do a search warrant for Google to get all the subscriber information that goes along with that device number. And that's when we'll get back a Google account, which usually has a Gmail associated with it.
Now, were you asked to create Google location maps for December 19th and December 20th of 2018?
I was.
When you received the records, are there specific things that you are looking for?
When I usually receive Google records, yeah, I'm usually just looking to see where the device is at. If we get enough of them, just trying to understand kind of where the device goes, what locations it frequents, so that we can help the detectives build a better case, and then kind of understand if there's any areas of interest that they need to look at that we didn't know about before based on where the device had traveled to.
And how do you map these? Do you use a specific program?
We use several different programs. The main one I used to make the maps is a program called ZETX, Z-E-T-X, and it just nicely spits out a file that we can put into Google Earth. I also look at the records in a program that the FBI manages called CASVIZ. We use that one as well just to kind of see the locations. Mostly map them in different programs to make sure that they're accurate.
And approximately how many times have you been asked to create these type of maps?
Google Maps probably around 50 times in my career.
Now, in regards to the Google Maps, does that involve potentially any points of interest, or do you just map what's shown?
Generally, when we first look at, I just generally map what's shown. If there are areas of interest that the detectives are interested in, I'll plot those on the map so that they can see. But usually if I'm just doing investigative work, I just kind of plot everything and we just kind of look at it.
Now, do you use cell tower in order to map these Google records, or do you not need them at all?
We don't need cell towers. So like cell phone records, we would need a cell tower list to help understand where the device was in relation to the records, depending on the records we get from a cell phone company. Google is giving us a point that they say the phone is, and they're giving us a display radius.
Now, what information are on these lists to help pinpoint where a person is located?
The lat and long, longitude, latitude.
Okay, I'm going to draw your attention now to December 19th, 2018. Were you asked to map anything post 10:45 in the morning on the 19th of 2018 December?
I believe I was just asked to map the whole day.
Okay. And were you able to obtain any Google data from that particular day?
Yes.
All right. And did that time frame include 11:15 a.m. to approximately right before 11:40 a.m.?
It did.
Right. I'm going to be showing you now what is listed in evidence as number 35. Can you see your screen, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. pause it I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to keep it paused. Now, can you explain the different things like the white box to the right? Can you tell us what is located in that white box?
That white box is the, just looking at, it just contains the case number as well as the time frame for the records that were mapped.
And the case number, would that be the CCR 18-866278?
It is.
And is that the unique JSO case number?
It is.
And this map, it was obtained at, like as stated, bottom of the left corner, Google Earth?
Yeah, so the program ZX gives us a file that we can load into Google Earth and then plot these.
Now, that box that is in the top left-hand corner, can you explain that, please?
That's what Google Earth calls a time slider. That is, you can adjust the time range that you're seeing on the screen, date and time.
And I think you had indicated earlier that this is from 000 through 2359, so that would be the entire 24 hours of December 19, 2018?
Correct.
I press play for the record. Now I'll pause it at 9 seconds. Can you describe what's happening now at the bottom middle of the map?
Yes, some locations are starting to appear. These are the Google locations that we've got from the records for this day.
Now, is this in the area here in Jacksonville near Main Street?
I believe Main Street's yes, it's a little south of there, but.
Because was one of the locations that you were given at Ace Pick-a-Part off of North Main Street?
It was.
Now, in looking at our map, would this be north of Ace Pick-a-Part?
It would be.
And it looks like we can see the intersection of 95 and 295 as well. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So are we on the north side of Jacksonville?
That is correct.
Now, when we're following, and I was pausing for 13 seconds, when we see the time, let's just, for example, 12/19/2018, 11/16/44, is that actual Eastern time?
Yes, ma'am.
And when we see a red pen, what does that mean?
That indicates the location that Google has told us the device is.
And I think you had stated earlier, Mr. Nestor, that this is an approximation of 3 to 5, was it meters?
On average, 3. Sometimes they can be a little bit larger than 3 to 5, but usually GPS records are within 3 to 5 meters of the display radius.
Now, the current information that we are finding, I know that you had mentioned earlier there's different data that can be on Google records. Were you able to determine which data this was from the Google records?
These are GPS records.
I stopped it here at 59 seconds at 11/31/18. The spot has become now around that red pin a lighter red color circle. What does that indicate, Mr. Nestor?
It indicates that the display radius is larger than 3 to 5 meters than the GPS pings were.
Now is this to the east of Interstate 95?
It is.
And I know that our map has zoomed in a little bit. With this, though, area that I have stopped, is that just south of Airport Road?
Yes.
So just to give context, that if we were to go a little bit further north, that would be Airport Road, and then to the left That would be Jacksonville Airport.
Correct.
So I have paused it now at 1:32. Is it fair to say that the last entry point would be 12/19/2018, 11/39/29?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, does the GPS then go off?
Yes, there's no more records for the rest of the day from Google.
And again, what are the factors that could indicate why there, after 11:39/29 a.m., there's no further Google location information for 12/19/18?
The phone is either in the middle of nowhere, or the device was turned off, or the locations were deleted.
So you said either the device was turned off or it was deleted.
Correct.
Now, did you also create a map for December the 20th of 2018?
I did.
Bear with me 1 second. That one I did not see uploaded. Make sure. Give me 1 second, and I need to upload the second one. I wonder if he did not upload the 20th. Yes, please. You should both be here. And I will take off from the viewing. Oh, you only put one on. May I just have a moment, Your Honor? I apologize for the delay. Give me one moment. I apologize, Your Honor. I'm just going to save it different manner, and then I'll speak with defense, Your Honor, so I can get that going and not delay further.
I can assume.
Yes, sir. I think, can I just have a second?
Sure.
Because I think both defense and the state would like to give the juries 5 minutes just to see if we can get this up. We apologize.
No, it's fine. Technology gets the best of us.
Yes, sir.
All right, members of the jury, it's 9:45. Rather than have you sit there in silence, I'll let you go back in the jury room and talk about everything but this case. Please remember, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't do any independent research. And we'll call you back out here in a few moments.
My link is expired. My link is expired. My link is disabled. I don't know why it doesn't. I think it only has 19th. No, we need to play. Let me see it.
The jury's outside our presence. Mr. Nestor, if you wish, you could, you're more than welcome to get some steps in if you would like.
I'm okay right now. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go back on the record. 19 CF 7518, State v. Johnathan Quiles. I do have counsel of the State Defense, Mr. Quiles present. My understanding is we're ready to get back and going. Just from a scheduling standpoint, at this point, what I'm probably going to do is just use this as a mid-morning break. I've had the bailiffs inform the jury of that fact. They're okay with that. And we'll just take an earlier lunch break than we have the past week and a half. So given that timeline state, I doubt I'll get to those Williamer witnesses prior to the lunch break. That's just letting you know for scheduling purposes when you get people here. That probably makes sense given the testimony and rather than breaking it up. So is that a huge issue for you guys?
Oh, yes, whatever's fine, Your Honor.
Is that okay with you guys? Yes, sir. Okay, so I still have Mr. Nestor on the stand. Are we ready to proceed with his testimony?
I'm sorry for the delay again.
No, you're fine, but we're ready for the jury to come back?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's bring the jury back in, please.
Internet gods are against me right now.
Your Honor, the jury reenters the court.
Members of the jury, welcome back. You guys may have a seat. Sorry for the delay. Just technology sometimes gets the best of all of us. I think the bailiff informed you guys of this, so I'll use that as our mid-morning break, but I will take an earlier lunch break to accommodate you guys. We typically have been going about an hour and a half, hour 45 at most. I can't imagine going past that for today before we take our lunch break. We'll see how the witnesses shake out, but I'm not going to let you guys go past that before we take our break, and the parties are aware of that as well. So with that said, we'll continue with the state's direct of Mr. Nestor, and with that said, Ms. French, you may inquire. You're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry for the delay, Mr. Nestor. Did you create a map as well of the Google location data for December the 20th, 2018?
I did.
And were you tasked and asked to do the entire day of December 20th, 2018?
I was.
Now, from going from 11:40 a.m. on December 19th, do you recall the approximate time that the first Google location data appeared on this December 20th map?
Around 4 p.m.
And I have it paused here right where we're getting started. When you say around the 4 p.m. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Choosing to fix that for you guys. But thank you for notifying me. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You guys can see it now? All right. If you don't have it, raise your hand. Okay, no hands raised. They have it. Ms. French, go ahead.
And thank you, everyone. And so looking at your screen, Mr. Nestor, you said approximately the 4 p.m. Would that be the 16:04:28, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's just in military time?
Correct.
Now, in regards to this particular map, again, are we looking at Google location data off of Bush? Is it road or front? What's the full?
Bush Drive.
Bush Drive. Thank you, sir. And is that where then the next Google data had picked up?
Correct.
Now, what bridge would we be going over at the 16:24:37 time frame? And I've paused it at 20 seconds within the video.
I do not know, actually, what bridge that would be.
All right, I'll discuss that later with Detective Abbott. I'm going to pause it here at 52 seconds, Mr. Nestor. Is this next data then based upon the fact that this person is located at that 10268 Beach Boulevard location?
Yes, ma'am.
And does this data ping at this location for a period of time indicating that the phone was located there?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the data that we have just been observing here on this 1220 map, what subcategory did this data come from?
I believe it was a mix between the Wi-Fi and GPS. Currently, we're looking, I believe, still at the GPS.
Thank you, Mr. Nestor. Mr. Nestor, are you familiar with what's located at this Beach Boulevard address?
I believe it's the gun gallery.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Nestor, when we get into this larger, lighter color red, what does it indicate, sir? And I've paused it at 1 minute and 54 seconds.
Just indicates that the record at that time, Google had a larger display radius than the other display radiuses that they had.
So as that circle enlarges, does that mean then that the radius of the location is wider.
Correct.
Wider beyond that 3 to 5 millimeters.
Correct.
I think you have the address now indicated at 528 Trout River Drive. Is that accurate around the 17? And I've paused it at 2 minutes and 13 seconds, 17:43:51.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Nestor, I just want to go back 1 second to the white box. In this particular box, it states between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Was that the only data available, or were you asked to do up to 7 p.m.?
For this map, I believe after 7 p.m. there was no more data on the 20th.
So just to recap, December the 19th, 2018 had data between approximately 11:15 and 11:40, with that about 25 minutes worth.
Correct.
And then on 12/20/2018, there was approximately 3 hours of data available.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Nestor, were you also then provided the Google records associated with an Ayanna Sawyer?
I was.
And I know that you had mentioned earlier that it's not related to a number, it's related to an email. And did you look at both emails associated with IS, Sawyer Ayanna and foreign Yana?
I did.
And for record purposes, on the second, Yana is with 2 N's, ma'am, for record purposes. Now, did IS have an Android-type phone?
No, I believe she had an iPhone.
Now, based upon her having an iPhone, was there any Google data located within those from those 2 email accounts?
There was not.
Now, were you also then provided cell records associated with IS?
I was.
And was that number 904-293-5139?
That's correct.
And were you asked to map the areas of location of where her phone was located between 12:19 and beyond?
I was.
Okay. And were you able to locate any data from the cell phone records from 12/19/2018?
There were 2 phone calls that connected to cell towers in the early mornings, I think around 7 a.m., and they pinged on a tower off of Arlington, over in the Arlington area.
And from those early morning 2 phone calls around the 7 a.m. time frame, did that cell tower that pinged in Arlington, was that near the Terry Parker High School?
It was.
After that second early around 7 a.m. telephone call, was there any further what's commonly referred to as cell site data from those towers after that early morning second call around 7 a.m. on 12/19/2018?
There was not.
And that would also include 12/20/2018 and beyond?
Beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Nestor, and sorry for the delay again, and no further questions.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right. So you were asked to go through these phone records associated with Mr. Quiles, correct?
Correct.
All right. And to be clear, you said Google tracks your phone, whether it's by habits, location, buying habits, and that's all done through either assisted GPS, Wi-Fi, or cell towers. Do I have that correct?
Correct. The way they're using the Wi-Fi and the cell towers, however, is they're using a patented algorithm. They had to estimate the location using Wi-Fi endpoints and cell towers.
Okay. Now, and to be clear, they try to get it as accurate as possible
They do.
within, you said 3 to 5 meters, give or take.
The GPS ones are. The Wi-Fi ones are going to be a larger range, and the cell tower ones are going to be much broader.
Okay. And going back to what the state was showing you, you could almost do a pinpoint on some that are GPS, and the other shows that big red wide circle.
That's correct.
That's the difference between the two, whether it's Wi-Fi or cell tower versus an actual GPS locator. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate. Sometimes we've had GPS ones that are much larger. Google will like to tell you that things are 70% accurate. That's what they strive for.
Okay. Now, you stated on direct that you can't track the phone when it's off, though, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, would it be fair to say there's varying reasons as to why it would be off? Battery dies, someone turns it off, or as you stated, somebody clears the memory. Would be another reason why there's no location on the phone. Would that be accurate?
In the Google account, that's correct, yes.
Okay. And you said, already stated iPhones work very differently, though, correct?
Only because iPhones aren't Android products. So in order for an iPhone to get Google records, you would need to use something, let's say like Google Maps on your phone and have a Google account associated with that. So the reason we don't really get Google records with iPhones is because there's no native Google applications on the phone. You have to add them, have a Google account, whereas Android is owned by Google. All the apps that are on that phone are Google products.
Okay. And when you were showing that first map of December 19th of 2018, between 11:15 a.m. or thereabouts up through about 12:30-ish p.m., okay? You remember that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, he was at Ace Pick Apart, and then he left, correct?
Correct.
Now, when he left, he went up by the airport, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Where he went specifically, he was over by Lowe's. There's an auto parts store. There's a range of varying shops in that area, correct?
There is.
Okay. Now, when he got up to that area, it didn't have a direct pinpoint as to which business he went in or anything like that. It just showed he was in the parking lot of all of those businesses up by the airport, correct?
That's correct. However, in the Google records, so we don't only just get location history back, we also get, if they have browser history, search history. That particular time, he did search directions to a location. I believe it was Fastenal. I think it's a fastener shop or something that's up in that area.
Right. And do you even know what Fastenal is?
I believe it's like a fastener company. I'm not familiar with them.
Not familiar with it?
No.
So you don't know if they supply parts for businesses and things of that nature as well, do you?
I do not.
All right. So, given that he went to Fastenal, you don't know if he was directed by his employer from Ace Pick Apart to go up there to pick up parts then, do you?
I do not.
Okay. So, he goes up there, and then at some point, correct me if I'm wrong, that's where the phone shuts off, correct?
That's a possibility.
Okay.
Again, can't definitively confirm that.
Right. All you know is it quits tracking.
That's correct.
All right. So you don't know if his phone died?
Nope.
You don't know if it got blanked or anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Now, and it was your testimony that it didn't come back on until the next day?
As far as the Google records show, there was no Google records the rest of the day on the 19th.
Okay. Now, did you analyze his phone or did you just download this off of Google?
I was given these records from the detective who got them from Google. They were downloaded.
They were downloaded from Google.
Correct.
Okay. But you have no idea whether or not they did a phone dump off of his phone.
I am aware they did a phone dump, but I did not.
Did you analyze it?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I wasn't the original analyst that worked on this case back in 2018. I assisted with the missing persons part of the investigation, but the other analyst that did work that investigation, she's no longer with the agency. So I was asked to come in and look at the Google records specifically.
Okay. And then, after reviewing those records, create this map that you provided for the court.
That's correct.
All right. So then the next day, he pops up on Bush Drive, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's also on the north side as well, correct?
That is.
All right. Up in the area of the Budweiser plant, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I believe that's where it's around.
Okay. And then you track him from up there off of Bush Drive, and he goes down to Beach Boulevard, correct?
That's correct.
To the gun range.
That's correct.
And then he ends up over in the area of Trout River and then Terry Parker, right?
Yeah, I believe it was more towards like Girvan Road, or
I'm sorry?
I think it was more towards Girvan Road originally, and then maybe towards Arlington after that.
Okay. And this is a full day after IS is supposed to have been missing, right?
Correct.
All right. So you don't know if he was over there meeting with family or coordinating anything or what? You just tracking where he went?
That's correct.
All right. Now, the calls that you said were made on 12/19 of 2018 at 7 a.m. from IS's phone, that being the 904-293-5139, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you search who those calls were made to?
I did not.
Okay. Are you aware they were made to her grandmother?
I was not.
Okay. You just know that two calls were made on the morning of 12/19 of 2018.
Yes, sir.
Were you aware they were made to the same person who owns the account for that phone?
I was not.
Okay. Would it be fair to say you're limited just by the information that you're given then?
That's correct.
Okay. And you're only given enough information that the lead detective has given you then?
That's correct.
All right. So it's hard to give a complete analysis if you aren't given the full information then, isn't it?
That depends on the case. I think, the detective gives me enough information that I need to know to plot the locations on the map. My job is to accurately display those locations without I don't have any bias as to where he goes or what locations they show. My analysis is just to show that the records that we got from Google are accurately mapped as we received them.
Okay. But you don't know how the phone was used and in what context or who he was calling, who he was texting, or anything else?
No, sir.
You also don't know what Google searches he did or where he went, do you?
I know Google searches that he made that are in his Google account records
Okay.
for the time frame that we were given.
And based on that, you know he did a Google search to go to the gun range, right?
I do.
Okay. And that was done before he went to the gun range, obviously, right?
Correct. He needed directions.
Right? So all that was displayed in there. Accurate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. May I have a second with counsel, Your Honor? Nothing further, Your Honor.
No further from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Nestor, good to see you, sir. Have a good rest of your day.
Very much.